So thank you, Jocelyn Dorsey, for agreeing to sit down with me and let me interview you. I think that you've done so much for the community and for me even, young girls who want to be journalists and have a career in the media or anywhere. I think you're a great inspiration, and that's why I decided that I should do a reflections project on you.
Well, you know what's so funny? You never know what impact you have on people, and especially young people. So I get chills when you say these things to me because it means so much that that you really have appreciated my work, and you know, people don't always get that recognition. So coming from a young person like you means a lot to me. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, it's just there's too many my age that don't know your name, and I want them to know your name.
Well, thank you.
Let's go back to the beginning, where you got your start. What was your life like growing up?
You know, looking back on it, I had probably a fairy tale life. Well, I grew up kind of in a cocoon.
Right.
I was sheltered from any racism. The street that I lived on were all professionals. Most of them were engineers.
So what was your biggest inspiration to get to journalism?
I was in engineering school in college. My father wanted me to be an engineer because he thought that that would be a great way for me to be independent and earn my own living and not have to depend on a man to do that. And I had a roommate who was from Chicago, and she kept talking about wanting to be the Chicago Tribune reporter. And so when she started talking about all the things that she did in her classes, I said, I want to go see what this journalism is all about. And so I audited a class, and it was a man from NBC talking about his experiences as a documentary of building of the Berlin Wall. And he talked about his travels all over the world and the diplomats he met and the people he got to see and talk to and report on history. And I thought I was like, wow, this is what you do? I said, okay, I'm quitting my major. I quit my major in engineering, much to my parents' dissatisfaction, and I went into journalism.
Was there a difference in the racial climate from Ohio to the South when you moved down here?
The climate was very different. I mean, it was scary in many cases. Coming here as the first African American to do a newscast, a regular newscast on WSB, but also as a reporter. There weren't any other African American women in the newsroom. And so I kind of felt alone, and then I was sort of isolated because I went to a major university, so the African American community didn't think, you know, I knew anything about segregation, and therefore I was kind of a foreigner to them. But fortunately there were people here who nurtured me and made me feel comfortable, but still facing the outside community was very, very difficult.
You've received many awards and accolades, but which one would you say is your favorite?
You know, you are asking questions that people don't ask me. Actually, not an award per se. The thing that affected me most, I was reporting on minor children being solicited for prostitution. And in Georgia, it was a misdemeanor. In other words, you know, it was like a traffic ticket. And I found this out through sitting in a juvenile court one day, and I was talking to the judge, and she said this was the biggest issue that she was facing in the court. And the ramifications of what happens to these girls and sometimes boys that they had to deal with after the fact. And so there was a newspaper reporter working on the story at the same time. And so we decided that we would tell my boss and her editor, she was going to tell the newspaper that I was going to run the story before she was, so she could run it in the weekend paper. We got together a group of women, and long and the short of it was we changed the law, and now it is a felony. And that was the biggest reward for me. That's where you get your rewards. It's not necessarily the plaque on the wall, which is nice. It's when you can move that needle and really improve the quality of life for people.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a delight. I think you're going to go far.
Thank you.
You did a good interview.